Welcome back to The Big Picture. We continue to exercise our privilege to interview the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Art Panganiban. Sir, we were talking about some of the decisions that you had to participate in. And let's leave behind a minute that decision on constructive resignation. I have to say, though, that when President Estrada asked you and Justice Davide to inhibit yourselves, that was because of a perception that you might be favoring President Arroyo.
Yes.
And to be perfectly candid with you, when you were appointed chief,
Yes.
there was that sense that, is this guy going to be independent or is he not? And you got to look at the decisions, sir. It was 464, it was 1017, it was all those other things.
Yes.
I suppose they weren't too happy with those decisions.
Well, the truth is I'm not interested in whether I make people happy or not. I had to do my duty the way I looked at what my duty was, which was to uphold the Constitution and to look at what's good for our people in upholding the Constitution. I think, honestly, that even the President should probably, not now, but in the future, when she's no longer there, when she's already in retirement, can look back and say, I'm proud of the Supreme Court because it was independent, even of me. Yes.
Well, those decisions, walk me through them, because remember you were saying that you wanted to leave behind freedom and prosperity.
Yes.
And remember you said just before that if it's a case between the government asserting its authority and the people asserting their
Yes.
liberties, then you would have a tendency to side with the latter.
Yeah, with the people.
Is that the underlying philosophy behind your decisions or the way you guided your colleagues through those controversial decisions?
Yes, in questions involving liberty, we side with the people. In other words, we strictly scrutinize the acts of the government, and we decide all doubts in favor of the people. You know, when one individual wins against an entire government, that's a majority of one. Against even the people. You know, people of the Philippines versus Jose de la Cruz. When Jose de la Cruz wins, he wins against the people of the Philippines.
One other decision that I think was rather controversial was the People's Initiative decision.
Oh, yes.
You were happy with that?
Yes, it was a well-debated, well-deliberated decision. Of course, we won by a hairline, 8-7.
Yeah.
But whether 8-7 or 15-1, it's still the decision of the court.
But let me ask you this, and I'm not a lawyer, so correct me. There was an opening in that decision
Yes.
for another People's Initiative.
Well, People's Initiative is not a bad way of amending the Constitution. What we merely say is that it must be pursued in accordance with the requirement of both the Constitution and the law.
Yeah, yeah.
It is a method of amending the Constitution that is given to the people. You know, when the people want to amend the Constitution, and the two other modes which require the participation of Congress of the Philippines are not available, then the people can do it without Congress, without even the President.
Yeah.
That is the general idea in a People's Initiative.
But it must be done in that spirit.
It must be done in accordance with the Constitution. Otherwise, it will be used or misused and abused.
Talk to me, sir, about 464, the decision on Executive Order 464,
yes.
which prohibited cabinet secretaries and other high-ranking executive
Yes.
officials from testifying before congressional inquiries
Yes.
without explicit permission from the president. What was the logic there?
Well, Justice Conchita Carpio Morales actually wrote that decision. It was a unanimous decision. It was 14-0.
Yeah.
At the time that we decided that Justice Puno, the present Chief Justice, was on leave. You know, his wife just died, and he did not go to office while in grief. No? So it was 14-0. Tell you the truth, it was not really difficult, that particular one. It shows in the voting.
Yeah.
No? The issue was whether the president could presidents could exempt outright certain people, cabinet members, members of the military. There's a list of people. We said, no, that cannot be. The president's power to exempt people from congressional inquiries is based on executive privilege. And we laid down some rules on executive privilege there.
And that was, as you said, unanimous.
Unanimous, yes.
Let me ask you this, because when you have decisions like that are rather controversial and that everybody's watching, I mean, I remember we were reporting on everything we could at the time, given the limits. I remember even having a very quick interview with you about one of these things, about the People's Initiative decision. I don't know if you remember that, sir.
Yes, it was not an interview like this.
No, the reason I ask is because there must have been a tremendous amount of pressure on the justices.
Well, to me, pressures are normal. But it's a question of how you avoid them by not talking to people, or how you resist them in case some people are able to reach you. So to me, pressure or no pressure, I decide in the same way. But pressures are normal.
But do people try to reach you?
Well,
and the other justices as well?
Some people have tried to reach me, some have not, on the theory that first they could not reach me, not through my family, not even through my doctors, not even through my parish priest, because they all know that they cannot talk with me about cases. I shut out people who start talking about cases. And second, even if they talk with me, they wouldn't know whether I would decide in their favor or not. As a matter of fact, I tell them, you know, don't talk with me, because if you talk with me, you might think that you won because you talked with me. I want you to know that if you ever win a case in the Supreme Court, it's because you deserve it.
But is it improper or is it illegal for someone to try to talk to you or any other justice in one way or another in order to influence a decision? Because there's legality and there's propriety.
Yes.
And
well, for lawyers, it's unethical, and that could be a cause for disbarment. For the ordinary people, it could be a cause for contempt. It depends on how they do it. It's basically addressed really to the judges and justices, how they would react to it.
Because last week I talked to former Justice Vicente Mendoza, and I asked him that same question. Is it improper or is it actually illegal? And he says, it's illegal.
It's illegal in that sense. I told you. If it's a lawyer talking, that's against judicial and legal ethics. And that's sanctionable.